Hey guys, Alex Kahn here, and I just watched Bad Boys for Life, and that is the third movie in the Bad Boys Now trilogy, and they all star the main cast, obviously Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Now, I was really curious to watch this movie because it's been so long since the last Bad Boys, which was in 2003. The first one was in 1995. So I don't remember those movies too well. I remember loving the dynamic though between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. They were hilarious together. So what I also remembered about those movies were the cars that they used. So in the first movie, they had a Porsche, and in the second movie, they rocked out a Ferrari. But in the third movie, you can tell from the trailers that they went back to the Porsche, and this one is an eighth generation Porsche 911 Carrera 4S, part of the 992 generation. So 2020, and this one is colored in, they call it gentian blue. So it's a very cool looking blue, kind of sinister almost. Gives it a very domineering blue look to the car. Now, this movie, it starts off with a car scene, but unfortunately, the biggest car scene with that particular car is at the very start of the movie. After that, you do see this car appear four, maybe five more times throughout the movie, but it doesn't really do any more hard driving after the first scene. There's one other vehicular scene, and I won't spoil that for you, but it does not involve the Porsche at all, unfortunately. So I kind of figured with a car that expensive, they're probably not going to put it through that much hard driving. Although in the first scene there is some pretty nice hard driving with that movie, but there's no gunfire involved or explosions. So that's that. So I want to talk about this movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's actually things that can be spoiled for you in this movie because they have some reveals later on. So I won't go over that. I'm just gonna say it was great seeing Martin Lawrence and Will Smith together again. They were hilarious. And I got to say, this movie, it was actually pretty touching at times, because as I said, the first two movies came out in '95 and 2003, so there is a theme where people who get older, they start to come to grips with their age and their limitations because of their age. So at first, they're kind of joking about it, but I think later on, it just kind of hits you that they are getting old. Even the actors, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, are getting old, so they're not the bad boys that they once were. They're still great. They're still great people, but they're not the bad boys living in the prime of their lives anymore. Great cars. Well, there's a great car in this movie, which you saw in the trailers. It's that 2020 Porsche 911 992. Great car, but it suffers from what the first two movies did with their car scenes. That is, it's over edited. I mean, it's not as edited as heavily as some other car movies of recent, but it's still a little over edited. I think with a car that beautiful, you don't want the camera to keep cutting, because you want to see this car and appreciate it. But if you try to appreciate this car, you'll just get a headache. Well, at least I did, because it was like cut, 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 and the car's just zooming by. I don't understand why they do that with such an expensive car. It's like, you have this expensive car, why not show it off? Take your time with the shots. You can still have a fast-paced scene without having fast cuts, because the people who like car movies, they typically don't like the fast cuts in the car scenes, because it cheapens the experience for them. That's my opinion anyways. The gunfights are awesome. I love the gunfights. I love all the action sequences in this movie. And the story it gets pretty intense at points. But of course, there's a lot of funny moments too, which they show some of that in the trailers. You have the old generation having fun with the new generation. Just wanted to see what the car was like, and wanted to see how Will Smith and Martin Lawrence were. They were great. The car was great. I just wish they changed the style of editing for the car scenes. Because I watched the behind the scenes, and I seen some bystander footage of this Porsche doing some pretty rough driving. It looked great. Actually, it looked better when the bystanders, the people just passing by, recorded on their cell phone. That footage looked way better than the footage that you see in the movie, because the footage in the movie is just over edited. I hate that. I really hate that. If you had no trouble with the car scenes of Bad Boys 2 and Bad Boys 1, then you're going to like this too. It's the same style of editing, even though they have a new director for this. So I did like it. I was surprised. I might go back and watch Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, because I hadn't seen them in forever, and I kind of forgot what happens in those in those movies. But they're bad boys. All right, guys, did you see this movie? What did you think? If you have any plans to see this movie, what do you want to see? What was your favorite car in these movies?